Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's an honor to have you all gathered here as we celebrate our nation's 250th birthday with a flag raising overlooking the historic Fort Lawton Parade Grounds. For those of you who don't know, my name's Pete Hanning. I'm on the board of Friends of Discovery Park board. Before we begin, I do want to recognize some of our partners who made this ceremony so possible. Thank you to my fellow board members at Friends of Discovery Park, especially Bart Shavir and John Rundle. I'm also deeply grateful to Bryce McWalter from the Magnolia Rotary and the American Legion, as well as Elizabeth Servey and Scout Troop 80. A special thank you to Willi Lindner and Ali Teeter from the VFW, Kendra Aguilar and the Native veterans from Daybreak Star, retired naval officer and current council member Bob Kettle, council member Dan Strauss, and of course Jim Devine, who's serving as our bugler today. And thank you all to you for being here in attendance. Discovery Park is Seattle's largest park at over 500 acres. However, the story of this land reaches far deeper. Long before it was known as Fort Lawton or Discovery Park, this area was and remains sacred to the indigenous peoples who have stewarded it since time immemorial. We at Friends at Discovery Park are honored to continue some of that stewardship. Our mission is to defend with integrity of Discovery Park, to create and protect there an open space of quiet and tranquility, a sanctuary where the works of man are minimized, appearing to be affected primarily by the forces of nature, a place which emphasizes its natural environment, broad vistas, and unspoiled shorelines. We like to say our battle cry at Friends of Discovery Park is, "Keep Discovery Park wild." But while our mission calls on us to minimize the works of man, that doesn't mean we cannot honor and preserve certain aspects that point back to when this land was Fort Lawton. Which brings us to this historic flagpole. This flagpole was erected in 1946, but the history of this site begins much earlier. Construction of the first fort at Discovery Park began in 1898. And then during World War II, this base had over 1,000 structures on it, and over 600,000 soldiers and troops debarked from here to both the eastern and western fronts. But in 1964, the Secretary of Defense announced that 85% of Fort Lawton was no longer needed by the military and planned to surplus it. And Seattle wanted it back for a park. So U.S. Senator Henry Scoop Jackson stepped in and helped us secure the land for public future. And he actually submitted a bill to Congress called the Fort Lawton Bill. And that bill was it transferred at little or no cost for parks and recreation, and crucially allowed land originally gifted by a local government, which as Seattle had done in 1898, to be returned to the community at free of charge. And this plaque here in 1984, we commemorated this spot as the official Henry Jackson viewpoint. So this has real nice significance to all the work that he put in to helping preserve this land and for the people of Seattle. The flag that we're going to be raising this morning is the Shavir family flag. So generously shared by my fellow board member, Bart Shavir. Thank you, Bart. Bart's father, Fred Shavir, served as a sergeant in the U.S. Army during World War II. I want to thank Bart and his family for allowing us to raise this symbol, not only for our great nation, but also of their families' enduring commitment to service and to sacrifice. I'd like to now turn this over to Willi Lindner, and he is a former Special Forces who served bravely in Vietnam. He's going to talk about his relationship to the flag protocol, and etiquette.
Okay, I'm going to ask you all to come on a little closer because I don't have a parade ground voice anymore. When you think about history, we think about it in larger swipes and times. We think about it more in the past than we think about it in the present. But I want you to be aware, everything we do here right now, 5 minutes later, is going to be part of history. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is, first of all, some flag protocol. Civilians put their right hand over their left breast. Okay, we don't have anybody in uniform. However, veterans salute the flag. As the flag is raised, when it comes to the top of the halyard, you normally drop your salute. Okay, talking about history. The way things have happened to me in my life, what I'm going to tell you is going to be useful for you to know a little bit about me and just some of the things that are characteristics, okay? First of all, I'm an immigrant. Secondly, I'm a refugee. I'm also a college graduate, and I served in Vietnam, as said. So let me talk about the first part. In February of 1945, a long time ago, my mother, myself, and my youngest brother lived in what's now Poland. In March, my mother decided to put the two babies in a baby carriage, and she started to walk us towards the west, back to Germany, okay? During that walk, snow on the ground, my brother, 10 weeks old, died of starvation. Okay, we then proceeded on to go finally make it back to Germany. Post-war Germany, I basically grew up in ruins, and things weren't that hot. But where the flag comes in is my mother tried to apply for entry into the United States. So that's the first time the flag affected me. Then as a refugee later on, there were some situations where you could be admitted to the United States a little earlier because of a refugee status. But the biggest impact on me really was Vietnam. Going to Vietnam, as some of you may know, was not a picnic. A lot of people served, and where my emotions is with all of the people that served over there. Not just our people, our soldiers, but also the Vietnamese civilians. They suffered tremendously, okay, at our hands, at others, and this brings up another point. When you think about the flag, if you want to be honest about it, we have to take the flag as a symbol of everything that the United States has done and not done. As a young officer, one of the things they tell you, whatever your unit does or doesn't do is your responsibility. Well, I think of it in the flag in the country in the same way. We have to look up to some of the things that we did that weren't as good. But overall, what I really want to do is rather than nitpicking about all of the things that have gone awry, I like to look at the symbol of the flag, and I really want to look at the things that we aspire to. I think that's the easiest way to do it, is to look at the good things that we've done over the years and the good things we can look forward to and aspire to. Okay? Uh, God bless America.
Color guard, attention! Color guard, forward march! Color guard, prepare to present the colors. Color guard, present the colors.
Scout salute.
Color guard, prepare to post the colors.
Scout salute.
Color guard, raise the colors.
lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
Next, I'd like to bring forward our first speaker, Kendra Aguilar, who served 10 years in the U.S. Army and is part of the United Tribes Veterans.
Sam Timinywe, Notong Kendra Aguilar, Notong Peng Kowicham. My name is Kendra Aguilar, and I am Listeño from Southern California. My ancestors are also indigenous Mexican and European settlers. I'm honored to be able to be here with all of you today. My family has lived in Seattle for many generations, and I actually grew up here in Discovery Park, particularly at the Daybreak Star Indian Cultural Center, and with the United Indians of All Tribes Foundation. We were really fortunate that several years ago in the early 70s, some great warriors, some mothers, some grandmothers, families came together to reclaim some of these lands so that we as Native peoples could have a hub, could have a home away from our ancestral homelands. So this place has a very special place in my heart. So not only did I grow up here at Discovery Park as a child, but later as I grew up and joined the military, I was stationed here at Fort Lawton. So spent much of my service time here as well. And some of that time was spent taking care of some of the families when some of the service members here were sent to serve. So again, it's been a very special place for me. And it's very meaningful also as a Native person. As you can imagine, as I see this flag raising today and think about what the flag means to me as a Native person and as a Native veteran, you could probably understand that some Native folks' relationship with the flag can be complicated. It can be complex. But some of you might not know that Native people serve at 5 times the rate as any other demographic. And there's a reason for that. There are many reasons for that, actually. And I can only speak to my own experience and my own reasons for serving and what this flag symbolizes and means to me. And again, when I signed up to serve, we talk about what service means, and that our job is to protect this nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I think about the deeper meaning of service for me as a Native person in also protecting not just this nation and what that means, but these lands. And, our lands are sacred to us because they are not just something to benefit from, but we belong to the lands. And the land belongs with us. We belong to one another. And so as I'm standing here today, I'm actually thinking about my friend Ken Workman, who is a descendant of Chief Seattle, who the city is named for, and for good reason. And I think about the stories that he tells about his ancestors and Duwamish loved ones, and how when they pass on, they would take their remains and bury them at the base of the trees so that they could grow and continue to watch over us. So as I'm standing here and looking at all these beautiful trees, I'm thinking of those ancestors and those former warriors and mothers and grandmothers and what Chief Seattle wanted for us. He was a big proponent of unity. He wanted all peoples, the Native and the guests on these lands, of which I am also, to come together and live peacefully. So when I think of this flag and what it symbolizes for me, as a Native person, as a Native veteran, I think about, especially in these times where there's a lot of divide, that this is an opportunity to remind us of why we need to come together and live peacefully in these places with one another and with the land. So thank you for having me be here today.
Next, I'd like to ask Dan Strauss, council member for District 6, who represents Discovery Park, to speak.
Good morning. I'm Councilmember Dan Strauss, elected by the people of Magnolia, Fremont, Finney, Green Lake, Greenwood, Crown Hill, Ballard, many other micro neighborhoods, and it's an honor to represent the entire city of Seattle. My job here today is to introduce Commander Kettle to share some closing words with us, and thank you for letting me provide some reflections on the last 250 years. We are the longest lasting democracy in the world, longest standing singular democracy, and it comes not from just looking at our strengths, but understanding that through 250 years, there have been complicated times. There have been times that we have made grave mistakes and times that we have achieved success that no one else could possibly achieve. And I say another way, if George Washington's America was a bit different than Andrew Jackson's America. And over the course of 250 years, the strength of our democracy has been rooted and founded on our Constitution. That was not written in 1776. It came a number of years later after a few continental congresses. But I say that because when we look at the mistakes we've made and we don't let time try to heal those wounds and we take action to heal those wounds, we are able to then balance that with the strengths. No one else has been able to make it to the moon. We are out there in space. We are here creating technologies that no other civilized nation has been able to do. These are both two things that are true. And we've been able to achieve that because our Enlightenment period philosophies, in 1776 we had the highest literacy rate in the world. We took the Enlightenment philosophies and we put them to paper. Norway then took those Enlightenment philosophies as well. Theirs is the second longest standing constitution in the world because we had the strength, out of many, we had the strength to put those philosophies on paper. That has been, through the good times and the bad, our guiding light. And those principles have been able to be, we continue to be able to try to achieve those principles because of our Constitution. And the 52 words in our Constitution that are not legally binding, that set the premise for our nation, is the preamble. And in those 52 words, it gives us the guiding mechanisms to achieve our guiding light. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do establish and ordain this Constitution for the United States. Through these 52 words and through our Constitution, we have been able to continue our American experiment to achieve the Enlightenment principles that our 13 states signed in 1776, 250 years ago today. With that, it is a great honor and privilege to introduce U.S. Naval Commander retired Robert Kettle, also known as Councilmember Bob Kettle. He is a lifetime member of VFW Post 3063. He and I, when I say I'm elected by groups of people but represent all, Councilmember Kettle and I create a very blurry line between Districts 6 and 7, and it's because of our collaboration, cooperation, because we know that no matter where somebody draws a line on a map, it's our job to represent everywhere. So with that, please welcome Commander Robert Kettle.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning. I want to thank the Friends of Discovery Park and everyone who's part of that, because I recognize there's so many. Scouting Troop 80, great job. As we say in the Navy, bravo Zulu for a job well done. Thank you. Also, as mentioned, I'm a member of VFW Post 3063, so we have representation from VFW Post 3063, but also from the community, I could tell. And welcome on this, our 4th of July, our 250th. What I thought today that I would do would be to kind of highlight the flag. And one of the things that we do, and so it's been mentioned, I'm here more as Commander Bob Kettle versus Council Member Bob Kettle. And because one of the things that we've had in ceremonies in the military is one, particularly at retirements, that's centered on the flag. And I thought it was very appropriate to read this poem to you today. I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident. I am arrogant. I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher, my colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am saluted. I am respected. I am revered. I am loved, and I am feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for 250 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, Guam, Okinawa, Tarawa, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq, and a score of places long forgotten by all except by those who were there with me. I was there. I led my sailors and Marines and soldiers. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill on Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired. But my sailors and Marines cheered me, and I was proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September 11th as cowardly fanatics attacked America. I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters, heroes who risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, although bloodied, will never be beaten. Those who would destroy me cannot win, for I am a symbol of freedom, of one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it's done by those with whom I've served with in battle, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted new frontiers of space. I have been a silent witness to all of America's finest hours, but my finest hours are when I'm torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly at half-mast and honor my soldiers, and when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the graveside of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave. Dear God, long may I wave.
Amen.
Amen. Again, this is a poem that's read oftentimes at various ceremonies in the military, and I think it's really important today for what the flag stands for. I really appreciate, the touch points of a flag. And as I heard your remarks, I think about my own mother. I'm first-generation American, son of immigrants. And I think of my mother at the consulate in Liverpool, England, seeing the flag for the first time, particularly in that official setting. And it is something that brings us together as a country. And it's something that we should be thinking, reflecting on, particularly across the history, as noted by the other speakers. And I think that today, the work that's been done by the Friends of Discovery Park, by the Scout Troop, and by all those that are involved, and from Daybreak Star and neighboring, that what we've done today is really in honor of the flag of Old Glory. And so I just want to thank everyone for being here, in terms of my role with my colleague, Councilmember Strauss, on behalf of the city. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Henn.
I'd ask us now just to all be together in a moment of silence. To take a moment to reflect on our nation's history and all the sacrifices that people have made, and how we are going to step up for our own country and ensure that we have another 250 years. Thank you. Listening to that moment of silence, I couldn't help but hearing the flapping of the flag. I thought it was appropriate to end with just that being the noise that we heard. I wish all of you a happy 4th of July. I hope it is filled with friendship and family, hot dogs and potato salad. I know that's what I'll be eating. I want to thank everyone who helped participate in doing this small little ceremony. You know, these sometimes the smaller events are the sweeter, the more powerful. And I just want to end with a poem by Langston Hughes, Words Like Freedom. There are words like freedom, sweet and wonderful to say, and on my heartstrings, freedom sings all day and every day. There are words like liberty that almost make me cry. For if you knew what I've known, you would know why. Words like freedom. Thank you all. Have a blessed 4th of July.
Thank you.